government believes that the question of how a woman should dress is a matter for a woman's individual choice. Nobody should be trying to tell a woman how to dress. As we discuss these issues and openly discuss these issues, it's imperative that everybody is careful in the language that they use. It's very clear that the language that Boris Johnson used to describe people's appearance has caused offence.
The British Prime Minister Theresa May is demanding an apology from her former Foreign Secretary after he criticised women who wear the burqa. He wrote in a newspaper column that they look like letterboxes and bank robbers. Boris Johnson has so far refused to answer reporters' questions about his controversial comments. Muslim groups and many others, they say he's using Islamophobia to court Conservative voters. Johnson's supporters, well, they defend his right to free speech. They point out he never actually called for a ban on the burqa. They also argue that it's an oppressive piece of clothing. Let's go to Cardiff in Wales and speak to Sahar Al-Faifi. She's a Muslim rights activist, a community organiser and a molecular geneticist. Sahar, thank you very much for joining us on The Newsmakers. Why do you cover your face?
Why do I wear the face veil, the niqab? It's an act of worship. It's an act of devotion. It is part of my personal spiritual journey. It's never that someone forced me to wear it, or is never been an oppressive or suppressive for me, as some of the politicians are suggesting.
It's not just politicians, is it? There is a group of white Conservative men in the UK who continue to give their opinions about what Muslim women should and should not wear. Why are they doing that, do you think?
It's true, and I pray for the day where we never discuss what women should wear and she shouldn't. There are many reasons. I mean, this part of discussion around the face veil plays a big part of the Islamophobia industry out there. There are minorities who happen to be vocal, who are willing to scapegoat minorities, including Muslims, just to gain a political vote. We know that Boris Johnson made his comments at the right time, knowing that it's the silly season for the media. They are looking for the news, and he's aiming to get the populist vote, sadly, in the expenses of Muslim women's safety.
Silly season in the UK is what they call the period of the summer when Parliament is on holiday. Do you think Boris Johnson is an Islamophobe?
I think his comments definitely are Islamophobic and racist, not only just insulting.
But he's received quite a lot of support for his article, and not just from right-wingers. There are other people. There was one respondent, it's just one example, writing in response to an analysis of what he said in a liberal newspaper in the United Kingdom. And this person wrote, how can wearing one, in other words, a burqa, considered to help integration? It's about time the UK brought in a similar law. It is and never will be accepted dress in a civilized society, says this person.
You know, this is one of the things you always hear when it comes into discussion around minorities and immigrants communities, that they're not integrating enough, they're not doing enough. And it's sad to hear that, because we know the British Muslim community is the most charitable community. 20 staff are actually Muslim, and we are contributing to the society. But what you see that Islamophobic sentiments across the political spectrum. I'm not talking about UKIP and EDL. We have seen Boris Johnson making these comments. Jack Straw from the Labour Party, he made similar comments back in 2006 because of how much Islamophobia has been normalised. And when they are talking about that we're not integrating enough, I think they are confusing the concepts of assimilation with integration. What they are looking for is an absolute assimilation where minorities or people of faith or colour or different background are diluting their identity so much so they become unrecognizable. And for them, this is what is integration. Sadly, in my view, or sadly in their view, but in my view, this is not integration. Integration is being who you are, proud of your identity and faith, and contributing to the society, becoming active citizen.
The integration question is really interesting because it can work both ways, of course. People who support Boris Johnson in this particular issue, they say that wearing the burqa, the niqab, means that those people who wear it aren't fully integrated. But on the other side, allowing people and accepting that different cultures are part of a host society, that can also, of course, indicate that those Western societies are more accepting of integration and are kind of reciprocally engaging with integration because they say, yes, you're from a different culture, wear what you like, as long as you're not harming me.
Exactly. This is how it should be. I mean, this is our part of British culture. Diversity and multiculturalism is deeply rooted. But sadly, these Islamophobes and the politicians of fear, they would prefer to use the face veil as a polarizing tool, not only to divide us, but also to distract us from the more important issues. I mean, until when are we going to discuss or dictate what women's wear and or doesn't wear, forgetting the more important issues like Brexit and HS and employment and all of that? These are the things that need to be discussed, not this piece of fabric that I chose to wear.
Sure, okay, distraction as a political tool, integration as a cultural analysis. What about security? Chad, for example, in Africa, in 2015, there were 2 suicide attackers who had full burqa, and security can become an issue. In the UK, when a courier enters a bank, he or she has to take off their helmet because the camera has to be able to focus on their face. What about the security issue of hiding one's face?
National security is a concern for everyone, Muslims and other people of different faith and so on. But the security narrative is a false narrative, because someone who chose to wear the face veil like me, I absolutely have no problem to reveal my identity whenever is needed, you know, whether it's an airport or security checks and so on. For me, is a practice of faith that I do as much as I can, and whenever is needed, I am like anyone else following the laws. But the problem with this narrative is that they are suggesting somehow veiled Muslim women is prone to commit terrorist attacks. And even if there are cases like the one you mentioned in Chad, is it actually fair to prosecute a whole community for 2 individuals who committed these horrific crimes and undermine their liberties or undermine their freedom? This is also one issue to follow up on this, that it's not really about Muslim women who chose to wear it. It's not a Muslim issue. It's more of a civil liberties issues, because, you know, we live in a very diverse society. We must respect individual liberties. And someone might wonder, if they go on to discuss the face veil today, are they going to discuss the turban tomorrow? Or are they going to discuss the Jewish kippah and so on? So it's fundamental to our understanding that we respect our civil liberties.
Sahar Al-Faifi, thank you for sharing your opinions with us on The Newsmakers.